You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
Feel like who art Ed?
We'll try to slice it.
Who art is Mr. Wood art Ed me?
Yeah. Either way, it's ambiguous. It works on so many levels.
I know.
That's off to a great start.
Welcome to Who Arted, weekly art history for all ages. I'm your host, Kyle Wood. Now, first off, I want to say thank you to everyone who's been listening, participating in Arts Madness, and helping the show grow over the years. Whether you're a longtime listener or just discovered Who Arted, I really appreciate your taking the time to share a part of your day with me. This year's Arts Madness tournament is looking like the biggest yet, as we're just wrapping up round 2 and we've got tens of thousands of votes cast. If you want to participate in the tournament, be sure to check the links in the show notes or go to whoartedpodcast.com. Cast your vote today and be sure to check in next week to see who's going to advance to the next round. Now, for today's episode, since so many people have been listening to the show, I want to take a moment to share my other podcast with you. It's called Fun Facts Daily. If you haven't noticed, a lot of what makes it into our news feeds and social media seems to be just focused on the outrage of the day, and for my own mental well-being, I decided to make a conscious effort to learn something good every day. The show covers some art topics, but it delves into pretty much anything and everything you can imagine. I've made episodes covering materials like clay, paint, and glitter, but I also love that the show gives me the flexibility to delve into other topics like the new cookie recipe I am absolutely obsessed with, or other odd and interesting tidbits like why 17th century doctors thought keeping a fart in a jar might ward off the plague. Today, I'm sharing 2 art-related episodes you might like, focusing on paint and then glitter. If you like what you hear, be sure to follow Fun Facts Daily on your favorite podcast app and check out other episodes on cookies, odd medical history, or anything else that might interest you. Welcome to Fun Facts Daily, your source for just the good stuff. Monday through Friday, we're bringing fun facts and news you can use, all carefully curated to uplift and inform. So give yourself a break, relax, and learn something awesome in just a few minutes every day. Hi everyone, I'm Kyle Wood, and today we're going to be learning all about paint. But before we get into the facts, let's warm up our brains with a little challenge to see if you can tell fact from fiction. Consider this. We all know the White House in Washington, D.C. It's famously painted, white. But many people believe it was first painted white specifically to cover up the black scorch marks left after the British troops burned it during the War of 1812. What do you think? Is this an actual fact or a popular fallacy? We'll find out at the end of the episode. Now for your word of the day. Our word for today is pigment. That's P-I-G-M-E-N-T. A pigment is a substance, usually a dry powder, that gives color to other materials like paint, ink, or even plastic. When the powder is mixed with a liquid substance called a binder, like oil, water, or acrylic polymer, it creates paint. The word pigment comes from the Latin word pigmentum, which means coloring matter. This comes from an even older Latin verb, pingere, which means to paint. For thousands of years, people have sourced pigments from nature. Early cave painters used earth pigments like ochre, while some of the most famous colors in history, like ultramarine blue, were ground from rare gemstones and often more expensive than gold. Time for your daily high five, our top 5 fun facts about paint. Number 1. Humans have been making and using paint for well over 40,000 years. Our love of color and creation is ancient, deeply ingrained in humanity. I would even argue this capacity for creative thought is how we got out of the trees. It's part of what makes us human. Some of the oldest known paintings are found deep within caves, like the Cave of El Castillo in Spain, where red discs and hand stencils date back over 40,000 years. These first paints were made from materials found in the natural environment. Early artists would create their pigments using ground up minerals like red and yellow ochre, hematite, and manganese oxide. They would then turn them into paint, mixing them with a binder like water, plant sap, animal fat, egg yolks, or even their own saliva. Number 2. Scientists have created a super white paint that is so reflective it can cool surfaces below the surrounding air temperature. Imagine a paint working like an air conditioner without using any electricity. Researchers at Purdue University have developed the world's whitest paint, which is so effective at reflecting sunlight, it can actually cool the surface. The paint reflects up to 98.1% of all solar radiation that hits it, while also emitting infrared heat. This means that the surface coated with this paint can stay cooler than the air around it, even in the midday sun. The secret behind this ultra-white paint is a chemical compound called barium sulfate, which is also used to make photo paper and cosmetics white. By using a very high concentration of barium sulfite particles of different sizes, the paint's able to scatter the maximum amount of light and heat away from the surface. Scientists are excited about the potential for this technology. Covering roofs of buildings with this paint could dramatically reduce the need for air conditioning, saving energy and helping combat urban heat island effects. Number 3. Enough paint is sold globally every year to fill over 20,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools. The global paint market produces over 13 billion gallons a year. That is such a massive amount of liquid, it can be hard to visualize. For comparison, an Olympic-sized swimming pool holds about 660,000 gallons. That means we can produce enough paint every year to fill more than 20,000 of them. A huge portion of this paint is used for architecture, protecting and decorating our homes, schools, and offices. But an equally large amount goes to areas many people don't think of, like industrial purposes. This includes the protective coatings on cars, airplanes, and ships that prevent rust and corrosion. It's also used on furniture, appliances, electronics, and even the lines on our roads. From our walls to our phones, paint is essential in just about every object of our modern lives. Number 4. Paint is a sort of shapeshifter thanks to the physics of shear thinning. You ever wondered why paint stays on the brush without dripping but spreads smoothly once you move it against the wall? This is because it's a non-Newtonian fluid. Specifically, it's thixotropic. When paint is sitting still in a can, it has a high viscosity. It's thick like jelly. But when you apply shear stress by stirring it or brushing it, it becomes thin and liquid. The moment you stop, it re-gels and thickens up again. This physics trick is why we can paint vertical walls without the whole coat sliding down to the floor. And our 5th and final fun fact for today. Colors might seem like a silly little matter of personal taste, but historically, color has been a matter of life and death, and even some major drama today. The quest for the perfect color can have a bit of a dark side. Believe it or not, until the early 20th century, you could walk into an art supply store and buy a pigment called mummy brown. As the name suggests, it was made by grinding up actual Egyptian mummies, both human and feline, mixed with white pitch and myrrh. It was a favorite of many pre-Raphaelite artists for its rich, transparent brown tone. The practice only stopped when the supply of mummies actually started to run out and artists realized exactly what they were painting with. Legend has it, when the artist Edward Burne-Jones discovered his paint was made of actual mummified people, he held a small funeral in his garden to bury his last tube of mummy brown. And the dark history of pigments doesn't end there. In the 18th and 19th centuries, a vibrant shade called Scheele's green was the height of fashion for wallpaper and clothing. Unfortunately, the secret ingredient was copper arsenite. That's right, arsenic, the lethal poison. In damp conditions, the wallpaper could actually release toxic arsenic gas into the air. And many historians believe this killer wallpaper could have contributed to the death of Napoleon Bonaparte while he was in exile on the island of St. Helena, as his bedroom was decorated with gold and green flowered wallpaper laced with the poison. And here's a fun little bonus fact. While today it's not such gloom and doom, color is still kind of a battlefield. In 2014, a company created Vanta Black. Now, Vanta is an acronym for Vertically Aligned Nanotube Array. It's a coating made of tiny carbon nanotubes that basically trap light, so it absorbs 99.96% of light. This has a weird effect where it makes 3D objects look like flat black holes. The artist Anish Kapoor bought the exclusive rights to use Vanta Black in an artistic context. As you can imagine, a lot of other artists weren't happy about it. In response, Stuart Semple started creating his own colors like the pinkest pink and the blackest black, Black 3.0, making them available to everyone in the world except Anish Kapoor. To this day, when you buy them, you actually have to sign a legal disclaimer at checkout stating that you are not Anish Kapoor and you will not give these paints to Anish Kapoor. Now for some news you can use. If you've ever painted a room, you know how tricky it can be to get a crisp line. The first thing everyone will tell you is to use painter's tape to mask off an area, but we've all experienced that frustrating moment of peeling off the tape only to find splotches where the paint crept underneath. Here's the pro tip: caulk the tape. After applying the painter's tape, run a very thin bead of paintable caulk along the edge of the tape where it meets the wall. Smooth it over with your finger so it's paper thin. Once it's dry, you just paint the wall. The caulk creates a physical barrier that makes it impossible for the paint to seep through, leaving a perfect crisp line. Now, if you don't have that paintable caulk, you can still apply this same idea. All you have to do is use paint to create the seal. Let's say you're painting a blue wall against a white ceiling. Tape the line, and then, before using the blue, paint the edge of the tape with the original white ceiling paint. Let that dry, and this will seal the tape with the background color. When you finally apply your blue paint and peel the tape, any bleed that happened was the white paint, leaving the new blue edge perfectly straight. Now for the moment you've been waiting for. At the beginning of the episode, I asked if the White House was painted white to cover up fire damage from the War of 1812. Well, that's a fallacy. The building was actually white long before the fire. It's built from a porous gray sandstone, and to protect the stone from moisture and cracking during winter, it was coated with a white lime-based wash back in 1798. That was 16 years before the British arrived. While it certainly needed a fresh coat of paint after the Reconstruction, the White House was already famous for its color. Today, we're going to be learning all about glitter. But before we get into the facts, let's warm up our brains with a little challenge to see if you can tell fact from fiction. Consider this. Most people think of glitter as a modern invention, but what if I told you the history of glitter actually goes back thousands of years? Some say Egyptian sarcophagi weren't just painted, they got a dazzling iridescent finish from an ancient form of glitter. What do you think? Is this an actual fact or just too good to be true? We'll find out at the end of the episode. Now for your word of the day. Our word for today is scintillate. That's SCINTILLATE. To scintillate means to emit flashes of light, to sparkle, or to be brilliant and animated. When you look at a jar of glitter, you're seeing thousands of tiny surfaces that scintillate as they catch the light. It can be used to describe anything that isn't just bright, but actively twinkling and alive with reflected energy. The word scintillate comes from the Latin scintilla, which means a spark. In the 17th century, it was primarily used to describe the stars in the night sky. Today, we use it to describe physical objects like diamonds or glitter, but we also use it metaphorically. If someone is a scintillating conversationalist, it means their wit and intelligence are as sharp and bright as a sparkling light. Time for your daily high five, our top 5 fun facts about glitter. Number 1. Modern glitter was actually invented by accident on a farm in New Jersey. In 1934, a machinist named Henry Rushman was busy cutting sheets of plastic and metal to create specialized materials. During the process, his machine malfunctioned and began to stutter, grinding the materials into tiny, shiny fragments instead of the clean sheets he was trying to produce. Rather than throwing the trash away, he realized these tiny, colorful scraps were kind of beautiful and had a unique way of catching the light. Rushman and the workers around him initially called them Schnibbles, a German-inspired word for scraps or bits. Initially, these Schnibbles were just swept up and considered a nuisance on the factory floor until some creative employees saw their potential. With the holiday season approaching, workers began taking the colorful bits home to use as artificial snow for their Christmas decorations. So you might say the first mass-produced decorative glitter was really just repurposing industrial waste. Number 2. Glitter is so unique, it's often used by forensic scientists to solve crimes. There are literally tens of thousands of different varieties of commercial glitter. With such a wide variety, it can actually act as a sparkly fingerprint for investigators. See, glitter is made up using different polymers, shapes, and layered coatings that vary significantly between brands and batches. Forensic scientists use a process called microspectrophotometry to analyze the light reflected off a single speck of glitter found at a crime scene. There's a phenomenon called Lacard's exchange principle about how the tiny bits of glitter can be incredibly sticky and yet also transfer easily from one person to another. Because it's so difficult to remove every single speck from clothing or skin, it often provides a direct link between a suspect and a location. In many high-profile legal cases, a single microscopic hexagon of glitter has been used as key evidence that actually led to a conviction. Number 3. While most of us think of glitter as a simple arts and crafts material, there's actually a big mystery in the glitter world because the biggest consumer of glitter is actually an anonymous industry. In a famous 2018 New York Times article, a representative from the world's largest glitter factory revealed that their biggest client is a secret. When asked who buys the most glitter, the company stated they weren't allowed to say because the industry in question doesn't want people to know there's glitter in their product. This sparked a massive internet investigation with people guessing everything from boat paint to toothpaste. The most likely candidate, according to many enthusiasts, is the automotive or flooring industry, although some suspect it's used in currency to prevent counterfeiting. Regardless of who it is, the sheer volume of glitter they purchase is staggering compared to the craft or cosmetic industries. In the United States, hobbyists and students use a few 100,000 pounds of glitter a year for everything from school posters to holiday ornaments. The mystery industry, though, consumes millions of pounds annually. Some estimates suggest that industrial applications account for over half the world's total glitter production, meaning there's likely more glitter hiding in the shimmer of your car or the hull of a boat than in every kindergarten classroom in the country combined. The mystery remains officially unsolved, adding a little layer of international intrigue to these tiny, shiny bits of plastic. Number 4. Some of the most expensive glitter in the world is actually made of edible 24-karat gold. While most glitter is made of plastic or foil, high-end pastry chefs use a special variety known as edible luster dust or gold leaf glitter. To be truly edible, the glitter must be made of non-toxic materials or precious metals that pass through the body without being absorbed. This luxury glitter is often used to decorate wedding cakes, gourmet chocolates, and even high-end cappuccinos in luxury hotels. Using gold in food isn't just a modern trend, it actually dates back to the Renaissance when European royalty would host banquets with gold-covered bread to show off their wealth. Today, the process involves beating gold into sheets so tiny they're translucent, then breaking them into tiny flakes. And our fifth and final fun fact for today: NASA uses a specialized form of glitter to help protect spacecraft from the heat of the sun. Space-grade glitter is actually a thing, and it's not for decoration. It's a highly engineered thermal control material. Scientists use tiny reflective flakes embedded in coatings to help bounce solar radiation away from sensitive instruments. It's similar to the metal flake paint you see on a car, but it's designed to function in the extreme vacuum and temperature swings of outer space. By reflecting a high percentage of visible and ultraviolet light, the high-tech glitter helps keep satellites from overheating. Without these reflective properties, the sun's rays would quickly cook the electronics inside a spacecraft. It's just amazing to think the same physics that makes a greeting card look pretty also helps us explore the furthest reaches of our solar system. Now for some news you can use. If you've ever done crafts using glitter, you know it is notorious for staying on your skin long after the project's over. Here's a pro tip. Use Play-Doh or a lint roller to clean up glitter spills. If you try to wipe it with a wet cloth, you often just spread the glitter around, but the sticky surface of a lint roller or the squishy texture of Play-Doh will lift the particles straight up without leaving a trail. It works because glitter has a very low mass but a relatively large surface area, which creates static electricity. This static makes it cling to the surface like a magnet. By using something with a stronger physical tack or adhesive property, you overcome that static bond. It's much more effective than a vacuum, which can sometimes just blow the tiny flakes back into the air through the exhaust. Finally, the moment you've been waiting for. At the beginning of the episode, I asked, did the ancient Egyptians really use glitter? Well, that's a fact. While the plastic glitter we use today was invented in 1934, the concept of adding a little razzle-dazzle to objects is ancient. The Egyptians used a mineral called mica, which they ground up into a fine powder to create a shimmering effect on their makeup and the surfaces of sarcophagi. And it actually goes even further back than that. Paleolithic cave painters used ground-up hematite to give their cave drawings a glittering metallic sheen. So it would seem humans have been obsessed with scintillating surfaces from the very beginning. Now, I hope you enjoyed learning a bit about glitter with me today, and be sure to tune in every weekday for even more fun facts. Fun Facts Daily is an Airwave Media podcast. It was written, recorded, mixed, and edited by me, Kyle Wood. Thanks for sharing a part of your day with me. Be sure to follow Fun Facts Daily on your favorite podcast app so you can keep the good stuff coming your way every day. And if you like the show, please do me a favor and leave a kind rating, review, or just tell your friends about it.